Hello, I'm Helena Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Live. This is our series that delves into the products and trends, grabbing the industry, and in real time, looking at the minds behind the design. With a focus on people, technology, and state-of-the-art processes, Ceramiche PMA crafts and distributes fine Italian ceramic products which stand out for their quality, style, and design, and offer designers real innovative solutions for both floors and other surfaces. The company is fully dedicated to its technical expertise, to its responsibility towards future generations, and its aim to create a world designed of the best products composed with utmost respect for Mother Nature. With me today to discuss the brand and their latest introductions is Andrea Bacchini, Resident Market Director for North and South America. Benvenuto.
Grazie mille. How are you?
Good, thank you. So Ceramiche PMA is a company specialized in the production of ceramic floors and other surfaces, and you have almost 60 years of experience offering real solutions to the design community. So Andrea, can you give us a little bit more insight into the brand?
Ceramiche PMA was founded in 1962, so you're absolutely right, 59 years in business. And it is an Italian company, production made in Italy, design made in Italy for porcelain tile. So you can certainly use them for floor and vertical applications. Yes, it is a design solution driven company. So whatever we do has in mind designers and architects and actually the end users as well, because we are very strong in the Italian and European market as well.
So I know that the company has a real focus on sustainability, and that's apparent in your production facility in Modena, which uses heat recycling kilns. But can you give us a little bit more information about some of the other sustainable practices you have in place at PMA?
So we actually produce our own electricity and heat for the production process. We recycle the heat in the kiln, which is one of the most expensive part of the production process in manufacturing porcelain tile. And we also won last year an award for the cardboard recycling. So the way we package things has also an impact on the environment because the more you use, the more you pollute. So we really try to strive toward environmental sustainable practices as well.
So I know you guys sustainably produce around 7 million square meters, and that's just a lot of eco-conscious tiles out there. But Andrea, yeah. I'm really curious, how do you define the strength of the brand? And I know as a company, you have a lot of words to describe it, such as reliability, technological, even evolutionary. So what are the words that you would use?
I think the word I used lately the most is solid. And solid because it's about the people. These are people, we are people that come to work every morning and we design something, we manufacture something for a specific purpose and use. I don't think we waste time in useless practices. We cannot afford that. We are lean and fast. And when I say solid, it's also about the design. Whatever you need as a designer, it's here, but we don't really spend time and energies and money in doing something that is just for today, but is not going to last for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. So I know some of the same principles and values that you have as a company you found in the international design firm Benoit, who actually became a creative collaborator on your latest collection, Glitch. But how did you connect with the design firm?
in 2018, a conversation started. And usually good things happen from a very simple conversation. Ceramic APM knew that firm in London because we were doing some business with them. And you're right, they are an international firm. They also have a location in Los Angeles in the US. And the conversation was about, if you could design a porcelain tile collection, what would you do? And from there, everything happened in a very fluid, in a very simple, and again, solid way to do things.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, because innovation is a value and a principle that you both use to describe yourselves. And I'm wondering how innovation became the influence for this new collection, Glitch.
The designer at Benoit was intrigued by the trends in the market. Obviously, as a designer, you always want the latest technologies and products and designs, but they were also intrigued by, what if we use something that is a trend in the market like concrete, and we tweak it in a way that is contemporary, timeless, and that's why they landed on a concrete look. And because they perceived in ceramic APM the capacity of doing 3D structures. That is a key part of this collection Glitch. Real 3D and visual 3D, because there are two different types of decoratives that I'm sure we'll talk about them later, are part of the Glitch collection by Benoit and the ceramic APM.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that one aspect of sort of deciding upon this look and feel of concrete was this idea of the imperfection that one can find in the material. And really this idea of the beauty in the imperfection seems to have become very heart of what Glitch is, correct?
It is correct. Think about natural wood. What you really remember in a natural wood plank are the knots. If you think of leather, you remember the scratches and the elements that are not pure or perfect. So imperfection, in a moment where technology allowed us, manufacturer porcelain tile, to be perfect. We can reproduce pretty much anything and everything, but that's not beauty. Beauty is in the imperfections, and that's what really was the key element of this. So in this collection, you get elements, glitches, that strike your attention, that they definitely get to your eyes, and that's why you like it, because we don't want to be perfect. It's easy to be perfect in 2021. It's much more intriguing and appealing to exploit imperfections.
It's even apparent in the name of the collection, Glitch. So how did Benoit and PMA really decide upon the name for the collection?
Glitch is born upon digital technology. We live in a digital world. We design porcelain tile with digital technology as well. So what's wrong in digital is when you have a glitch. So literally an electronic glitch that is phasing out that perfection level and creates a mistake. You always get something that is off place, but because it's there, it becomes part of it and you get to love it. And that's why the line is extremely successful worldwide for ceramic APM.
How are the flaws of the digital world really translated then into this natural look and feel of these concrete tiles?
There are spots, lack of colors, double coloring, default decorative, which is a 24 by 48 porcelain tile. You instinctively see continuous lines, but when you really look at them, they're not continuous, they break. When you touch the tile, you have a very good skin, a very good feel to it, but like concrete, it's not perfect. Some spots are different than others because of that. And that's how we really, Benoit really designed this line to be as imperfect as possible with a sort of attention to those details, to the imperfections.
Mhm. And can you tell us a little bit more about the many colorways and patternings that the collection ultimately comes in?
If you look at my right here, there is a wheel of the 8 colors that are part of the collection glitch. In their mind, which is absolutely true actually, colors are never single. They're always a combination of positive and negative. So using this wheel here, you can actually combine the combination and coordination of those colors. So there are 8 colors, 5 different sizes, structures, and especially the 3D elements of the full decorative. And then there is a beautiful decorative called Glitch, by the name of the series, that really looks like a TV screen that is going crazy, and it's creating that glitch electronic effect to the point.
So with a mission to constantly be evolving, you've been making investments into better technology, and your innovation continues with PMA Synchro Digit technology. So can you tell us a little bit more about this new industrial process?
It is, again, a collaboration with another company, another industry, Durst. They manufacture printing machine, so they are not necessarily connected to or only connected to the porcelain tile manufacturing business. But with ceramic PMA, they ask us to play and to use one of their new technology that we named Synchro Digit PMA. The purpose of this technology is basically to create unlimited structures, and I really mean it, unlimited, onto a porcelain tile surface. It's basically a sequence of 2 printing machines. The first one determines the structure, and again, it's ever changing. And the second one is determining the coloration on it, but it's synchronized. That's why we called it Synchro Digit, because the colors, the pigments of colors are exactly matching the structure. And because of this, we can really achieve depth, variation, lack of repetition that in the modern world of porcelain tile manufacturing, especially with the Continua technology, with the big presses, we kind of lost because obviously we cannot develop such an unlimited amount of structures and elements to the depth of the material.
So just to clarify for our audience, the technology really marries the 2 processes of tile surface relief with sort of the decorative patterning.
Correct. It is really a matter of creating structures and colors. In the Evoluta series, there is the source color called Cosmopolitan that carries 80 different faces, 80. So it's really a huge amount of faces and colors and movement. We couldn't do that without this brand new technology.
So just so like the designers out there know, so Evoluta really reproduces the look of natural material to like almost unprecedented, hyper-realistic levels. So they could get any sort of stone, tile, quartz, granite, marble that they want, but obviously have the durability and performance of porcelain, correct?
Absolutely. It is, Evoluta is a collection started on metamorphic rocks from the Italian. We started with one specific stone, and then we created with the technologies the other 4 colors. So it's a collection of 5 colors of a almost, I would say, quartzite look, slate look, metamorphic stones in 3 different sizes, 2 different finishes. And probably here is where the technology plays another surprising factor for us. We are able to hone on the crest these surfaces. So not only you have a natural matte finish, but the lapato finish or semi-polished finish is stunning because it really allows you, let me show you, I don't know if you can see this one, but on these products here, you can really develop depth, shading variation, lighting reflection, but most of all, this is a commercially rated finish because it does pass the DCOF for commercial applications.
So Glitch and Evoluta are just 2 of obviously the many solutions that PMA offers to the A&D community. And can you just give us a little insight into about the wide network of distributors you have in North America to offer those designers those real solutions?
We couldn't do it without them. So obviously we are in Italy, we manufacture, but we are really at, it's a partnership between us and our distributors. Just to mention a few, we start from New York with the Stone Source, Ceramic Techniques in the south in Atlanta, and Pental and the north, upper and northwest. Those are the three of the many distributors we work. And also, because of the history in North America of ceramic EPM, all of our distributors really collaborate and support each other. And that is really what my role is, living in America, in the US, to really continue and strengthen this relationship and network among our distributors, supporting the local warehouse and domestic stock for ceramic EPM in North America at this point.
Well, Andrea, I want to say thank you so much for your time and for your insight into both the brand Ceramic EPM and, of course, your latest introductions, Glitch and Evoluta. Time goes quickly, of course. And of course, for our wonderful audience out there, please make sure to check out the Ceramic EPM website to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, welcome to Metropolis Sustainable Product Spotlight. I'm Senior Editor Kelly Beamon, and in this episode, we're learning some of the lesser known details of Crypton's green history. Crypton is widely known for its fabric treatments, which add durability and stain resistance to so many products, including those from Arcom, DesignTV, and Birch Fabrics, among others. But perhaps you didn't realize how eco-friendly Crypton's products are. While its fabric technology is Green Guard Gold certified, its products are free of halogenated flame retardants, and the company maintains a program for recycling manufacturing remnants. It also just introduced ePure, the world's first environmental polyurethane that's made using a totally water-based production process. To tell us more is my good friend Julia Gillespie, Crypton's Vice President of Marketing, who agreed to sit down with me today. Thank you again for joining us, Julia.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. We're excited to tell everyone about some of our new technologies we've been developing, especially during this past year, which has been such an interesting year for all of us, especially in this market.
Yes, no kidding. No kidding. And given Crypton's far-reaching role in the design industry, touching so many different products, I feel that we probably have quite a few innovations to cover today. So I'll let you guide us on this journey. Start, if you don't mind, with this latest green news about ePure.
Sure. So ePure, it's interesting because one of the sort of ironies of ePure is that Crypton was created to replace vinyl and vinylized fabrics 28 years ago. And so because prior to that, any textile in a high use application was a vinyl or a vinylized fabric, and Craig and Randy Rubin set out to create a woven fabric solution that could withstand the wear and tear of high use spaces. Thus Crypton was created. It was the first fabric that was stain and moisture resistant. And they really created the entire performance fabric category. So fast forward 28 years, we're introducing ePure, which is a coated fabric. But we listen to the marketplace, we pay attention to what's happening. And there really was a need for an EPU that was super durable. So everything we do at Crypton, performance and aesthetics are sort of equal. So everything we do, we try to make sure it's beautiful, it's soft, it's livable, but it has a very high performance attributes. ePure is something we developed to satisfy that. So ePure is the first water-based EPU on the market. It uses an innovative water-based system. And what it does is that most polyurethanes are produced with something called DMF. It's a solvent. It's dimethylamide. and it's DMF, and it's a solvent. It's on the red list. It does, it's in most polyurethanes and often in some vinyls, and it does require, you know, a Prop 65 label, et cetera, et cetera. So we worked to create one, to create a product that was free of that, but still had high durability, and that is ePure. And some interesting facts about ePure. I mean, it, like all Crypton fabrics, it's Green Guard Gold certified. It's free of everything. Obviously, it's Prop 65 compliant. It's on the mindful materials list, but it's incredibly durable. It's I always say this, 1 million double rubs, and it's stain resistant, and it even resists the nemesis of all nemesis, which is denim dye transfer.
Okay.
So it's really an incredible product. We're just releasing it on the market now with our open line, and then DesignTech launched the first ePure collection. It's called Tilt and Nest, and it's it's beautiful. And another great thing about ePure is it can be embossed and it can be printed on.
Okay.
So it's a really great new product. I think, you know, I see it really in healthcare, but I think, you know, in certain applications in hospitality as well, it's a great product, and it meets sort of all the needs, I think, for today's designers.
And just to backtrack a little bit, could you share any of the steps that occurred in the development of the process for making it, especially this great water-based?
Basically what it is, and a lot of times when they're making polyurethane, they have to use DMF or a solvent or a plasticizer to bind all the agents together. That's what they do. And then sometimes what they'll do is they'll do it all and then they'll rinse it off. So they'll rinse the DMF off, and then they'll say, well, then it's an EPU because it's DMF free, but it was made with DMF, but then the DMF was removed. And to do that, it's obviously a lot of water waste, and they're also putting that DMF back into the water chain. So with ours, it is a water-based system that's used to bind it. And then all the water that is used in creating ePure is reclaimed.
Oh, that's great. That's great to know. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the features? I mean, you mentioned that it's great for that denim transfer, which is a problem in my life.
Right, it is. So some common problems with polyurethanes, and I've definitely taken a crash course in polyurethanes this year, is they call it puddle proof, so that it doesn't puddle during upholstery. You know, it's formaldehyde, phthalate, and BPA free. It's free of all PFOA, PFOS, PFAS. It's inherently antimicrobial, so there's no additive. Polyurethane by nature is an antimicrobial material. It's bleach cleanable, it's alcohol cleanable. So really, I mean, in my head, it's not on the red list. It like literally meets sort of like, if you're looking for the perfect vinyl and or polyurethane solution that meets all the sustainable standards, it is ePure. And then on the design side, it's almost limitless because it can be embossed, because it can be printed on. So DesignTech has a beautiful print, and then they have a lovely range of solids that are they're also printed, and they have a really nice modeled color play. And then we're launching one called Box Step, which is an embossed box pattern, which is really beautiful. And then the touch, it's like very, very soft. Like, I'll show you, like it's like super duper soft. And it's like this very pliable, lovely material.
How many, I guess it's limitless possibly, but I'm wondering how many different patterns can you do?
So with our distributors, they can work with us to develop their own. And that's why we announced it a little bit early in terms of, because it's going to be available with our open line in a few weeks, but we wanted people to know, because if you want to develop your own, you can work with our sales and design teams and develop your own patterns, your own embossed patterns, et cetera. So it is really limitless. And even like if you had a client who was, in hospitality or healthcare who wanted a specific color, specific logo, specific pattern, we can work with them to do that.
Okay. And I guess I want to possibly depart a little bit. Can we talk about your recycled cotton product?
So that's also brand new. And we just launched our first collection at High Point at Showtime for High Point for the residential market. And we're developing our own patterns as well for the commercial contract market as well. It's called Recover, is the partner we're working with.
Okay.
And this is a partnership with our mill. So in 2019, in the late fall of 2019, Crypton purchased Abercrombie Mills, which really allowed us to become more vertical and also I think, sort of pull some reliance away from overseas, do more domestic manufacturing. We also wanted to ensure that we preserved a lot of jobs in that area. And since then, we've done a lot of work with the mill, new yarns, new innovations. We have an amazing design team down there. It's incredible, and it's really enhanced our capabilities for both our distributors and for our partners on the residential side. So together, we're working with this company who basically produce. It's a very interesting story. So they create recycled cotton fibers, and how they do it is it's a very sophisticated process where they take post-consumer apparel, some pre, mostly post, and also some industrial waste as well. And they separate it out by texture, by color, by fiber type. They shred it, they crush it, and then they create, and they do this so they have the longest fiber chains, and then they create this recycled cotton fibers, which are 50 to 70% recycled cotton fibers. Then that is spun into yarn, and then obviously we're weaving it into fabric. So for us, it's a really innovative process. The thing that's so interesting about it is that because there's only like 1% of fashion waste is recycled. So, from their perspective, they have unlimited resources, because they come in. And then what I think is also interesting is that people have never really associated cotton with Crypton, because cotton's so absorbent. But because of our process at our plant, then we can actually take those fabrics and create Crypton out of them. So they are stain resistant. On the residential side, it's the hand is lovely. They're really beautiful fabrics. And on the residential side, I almost see it like a no-brainer. Like, you get to have your cake and eat it too. And on the contract side, because it is cotton, and Crypton's still a fabric, so there is going to be some, we'll take it to 50%, 50,000 double rubs. Sorry, so we'll take it to 50,000 double rubs, and nothing on the contract. Almost everything on the contract side for Crypton is 100,000. But I see our cotton as a really great solution for higher end hospitality, some of those resi-commercial installations, and the sky's the limit. And so some of the patterns we're doing they're just beautiful, and it's really exciting to see Abercrombie and Crypton, like, we're teaming up together and really coming out with some new innovations.
That's awesome. Could you tell me a little bit about how you think a specifier can decide whether that cotton would be good in a contract environment?
So I think it really depends. There's several factors. So it depends on your space. It depends on the use of the space. And so we have several different technologies even beyond all of these. So we have all these factors to consider. So if you want, on the contract side, if you have a client who insists on it being HHI compliant, then we have a technology called C0, which is 100% fluorine free. It's very stain resistant, but it does not resist oil-based stains. So you can specify that or Crypton. And then Crypton technology, we've leveraged C0 into our normal Crypton technology and taken the fluorine level down to 0.1%.
Oh.
So we've worked really hard. Our chemists, we really are taking a less is more approach to our chemistry, and really every fabric is customized. So it's not a one size fits all. So everything has to meet our standards, and everything is tested before it leaves the plant. But we really want to be mindful and be honest and upfront, so that the designer knows what they're getting, and the designer has the choice. And we always say it sort of comes down to oil and water, because fluorine's the only thing that resists oil. It's a natural element, and it's the only thing in the universe right now that we can find. And there's a lot of chemists worldwide who are trying to crack the fluorine nut, and we are too. But if you don't want fluorine, or you don't need that oil resistance, you go to C0. So the same thing with our performance cotton. It really depends on the client's needs and the use. So if you have a high use abuse space, we would recommend full Crypton with a moisture barrier. And I would typically recommend a fiber base of a polyester or polyester blend. And on the cotton side, it'll be like 50 to 70% recycled cotton, and then it'll probably be 30 to 50% polyester. And if you have a space where you need stain resistance, perhaps, but you don't need 100 or 200,000 double rubs, then cotton would be beautiful.
Okay, that sounds great.
And sustainable.
Yes. And can you touch on, you mentioned the idea of saving or cutting out water waste, reducing that waste. What are some other things just that we can highlight in the manufacturing process?
So at our plant, we take it really seriously, and the team who runs our plant is incredible, and they've made it a big priority to recycle almost everything that enters the building. So that means cardboard, plastic, fabric waste, trims, all raw materials. So all of our trims, all of our fabric waste is taken and recycled immediately. But they also recycle, like with our technology, like they'll take any runoff and they'll refine it and then recycle it. All water at the plant for all of our processes is reclaimed. And then this year on the energy use, we went through and we did sort of a huge overhaul. We replaced all the lighting in the plant with an LED, a low wattage LED system, which is saving $15,000 to $20,000 a year on electricity costs, but it's also reducing heat in the summer because it doesn't radiate up. And they're just continually making steps in all of our facilities now, because Abercrombie are about to do the same thing, where we're really working to cut down on our use of electricity, gas, reclaim the water, and just be as mindful as we can during the manufacturing process to make it as clean and refined as possible. And it's pretty incredible when you go to our plant or Abercrombie, like it's very clean, like everything is, it's kind of incredible in just terms of how even those steps as it refined everything else.
So being more sustainable also makes it
because when everything has a goal to make sure that you're reducing all of your waste,
you don't have stuff lying around.
You reduce your clutter.
I wish I could do that at home.
Yeah, I know.
I have to say, I just want to add this as an end note. I really like the fact that Crypton is taking steps to increase the percentage of its textiles that are fully made in the United States. I think that just adds to its sustainability profile. And it's just so helpful to know this green side of Crypton's story. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. It's been a pleasure seeing you and speaking with you.
Oh, me too. And thank you to everyone for joining us for Metropolis Sustainable Product Spotlight with Crypton.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Goods, Elevating Outdoor Entertaining, presented by Fire Magic. My name is Lisa Bingham Dewart, and I'm Luxe's Southern California, Pacific Northwest, and LA Homes editor. Today, I'm thrilled to be here chatting about alfresco cooking and entertaining with Boston-based chef and Emmy Award-winning TV personality and lifestyle host, Anna Rossi, who recently installed her very own tricked-out outdoor kitchen. But first, a big thanks to our friends at Fire Magic. So Anna, just in time for summer and a return to real life, you now have this amazing outdoor entertaining space. So can you talk to me a little bit about what your primary considerations were as you went about making this amazing area for yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, welcome to my kitchen. It's so exciting to have you here. I wish we were here in real life, but this is the next best thing. I think for me, just like indoors, outdoors, kitchen and the food story becomes the heartbeat of the entertaining experience. It's a place where people just want to gravitate. And so my primary objective was to create a place that people didn't want to leave and felt welcomed the moment they caught sight of it. And also as an entertainer, a place that could really give me the playground to entertain and host with ease. So this is the manifestation of a long wish list that has completely exceeded what I could have dreamt of.
So you kind of hit on it a little bit, but I would love to hear just sort of what your primary considerations were when you were setting up this space in terms of space planning and how you set things up.
Sure. Yeah. So our property itself has like different zones. Like what we have like the pool and the yard where the kids can run around, and a cozy living space around an outdoor fire. And then for the kitchen space, the kitchen itself has zones also. So like, I think of it in terms of working our way through the evening. What you see here is like the cocktail zone where I have my refrigeration, my outdoor rated Fire Magic refrigerator and ice machine. I have a really clean, minimal work surface. So this is the area where I can set up sort of the theme for the evening, the tempo. I love signature cocktails. So that's what you'll find there. And then as you sort of move into the gathering or the soiree, I have the grill where you can really deliver some incredible food, whatever you could dream up for the day part or for the menu is what happens here. I have warming drawers. So if I've done prep in advance in the cooler temperature seasons, maybe where I'd have my porcelain plates warming for an outdoor meal, casseroles, pulled pork, whatever. And then the side burner, and I chose to put that on the end. So my big paella pots and pans could just spill over the edge and I wouldn't be limited. And they're also heavy. So I wanted something below counter depths, but it's sort of a progression through a really great evening in the layout itself. And it's also suitable to like how I like to move. Maybe people want to stay, I want to keep them on that side of the counter. Maybe I want to have them come in and have them like peer in under the hood. So it can kind of work to who you're hosting and how you like to entertain.
After living through the last year, did that in any way shape your idea for how you wanted this to be set up? Did you kind of go a little bit bigger, just knowing that outdoor entertaining was such a much bigger priority? How did that all shake out for you?
Yeah, I mean, this last year really changes the person on a lot of levels. I think that like this was always my vision and my dream, but what I learned this last year, we still stayed social with our close group of friends, but stayed like 100% outside, even in snowsuits. And so like, how do you create a space, even in New England, even, where we really have these true 4 seasons, where it can be highly functional and a desirable place to be in? And I think the takeaway for me this last year is like when you are entertaining outside, the memories that you create in that evening or that day just are so much more saturated. I feel like being a part of the seasonality, and there's this beautiful synthesis that I feel, especially as a chef, and I love to garden, and that we're like I'm a part of what's in bloom, and being I love to think that I cook in the seasons, or that's inspiring my menu, but to actually have the seasons here and to be able to pull it in interactively to the cooking experience just leaves our friends with this incredible taste in their mouth. That is what is my hope as somebody who just loves to share my love of food.
It must be something about the sensory. You're really engaging all of your senses in a way that maybe just being inside doesn't, because you've got so much more sensory input from being outdoors. So in terms of putting together your kitchen, what were some of your top cooking, cooling, and storage solutions? What were your sort of on your must-have, can't live without list?
Yeah, so my love story with Fire Magic started with the grill. We started out with a freestanding Echelon 1060 grill that lived on our pool deck. And then in that experience of grilling on it, we realized, wow, this is a product that you could build an entire kitchen around in terms of being able to bake, being able to cook, not just grill, the rotisserie and all the fun that you could have. So as we started to expand our thinking, well, what does the ultimate dream kitchen have that we think of indoors? It has cooling and refrigeration. So we have the outdoor rated refrigerator, the ice machine for those blended cocktails, or just being able to put your raw bar on ice and have that accessible right there. Also running water. We easily installed a filter system underneath our sink, so you can have not only that easy deposit for your dishes, but also a great source for like filling up the pitchers. And then beyond the grill, having those luxuries that just make it so much more seamless, like the paper towel holder, the place to put your trash and your recycle, the warming drawer, and so much storage. Because with entertaining big groups of people and also having a grill, let alone a side burner that can handle just so much volume, you're going to have a lot of really big pieces of equipment and accessories. And that's another thing that I just love about Fire Magic is like the vault of accessories, from like pizza stone to griddle to their rotisserie motor to smoker charcoal boxes, like not having to store that in my laundry room, but to have that just so accessible right here. And part of this story is just such a luxury. Watching the home edit, I'm like, oh my God, I got to label these things.
And so when you're outside, you basically have no reason to run inside. If you have everything kind of just set up and ready to go, you are 100% in your space then.
It's amazing. I mean, yeah, from having like that little drawer to keep your cocktail napkins and your grill tools and your citronella candles, to having a place to quickly wash your hands, and also power, right? So we're strategic in where we put counter power outlets for, like if we were doing something that requires a blender or those little add-ons, depending on, what you're up to for the evening.
You could plug in your mixer out there, huh?
Yeah. And it's actually, that's one thing that I really love about I did a leathered leathered granite countertop surface. It is so fun rolling out my pizza dough or pie crust. I mean, and again, like that connection to the season, depending on the temperature and the humidity, I just love it. I mean, if you want predictable, stay inside maybe, but there's a lot of play that you can have that just makes you feel so much more connected to the cooking experience.
Now that actually brings me to my next question about the materials and the furnishings that you opted for your space. What were some of your favorite choices? It sounds like that leathered finish was really something that you love a lot. But why choose that? What was the appeal before you kind of started working on it?
Yeah, well, we started looking at our appliances first. So we knew what we wanted from the Fire Magic portfolio, starting with the grill, which is, I think, such a showpiece. And you have that beautiful 304 gauge stainless steel that already has this magnificent luster. And I think just, it's like jewelry in the kitchen space. And then building around the appliances, and then having, pulling in stone and durable material. We have existing stone walls on our property. So I went with a New England blend veneer stone finish on the outside of our space, and then blue stone for the interior of the kitchen. And then I love that luster that you get from the leathered finish of black granite. So nothing too shiny, something that has like a demure quality that plays really nicely, I think, with the stainless, and that just speaks beautifully to it. And then, like we were talking about with fashion or interior design, the fun of mixing metals, I had just joy in picking out the lightings that can just like show off the space as we get into the evening hours. So we went with brass under counter lighting to help actually with like what we're doing, but also to just give all the guests that little glow. And then the hardscape itself is a Unilock Easy Clean product that's like a umbrella. So with kids and mustard and ketchup, and if the grease tray spills a little bit, or let alone like foliage season, it's not going to stain. And all of this is like, you have the stone that's meant to last a lifetime. And it, that's another reason why we felt so confident making the investment with Fire Magic, right? Because it's been around for over 80 years. They have lifetime warranty, and it's just deciding to create an outdoor kitchen is a huge investment. I mean, even just looking at the hard surfaces, right? You're bringing in the natural stone veneer and beautiful granite countertops, and doing the electrical and the plumbing. So when you're making that level of investment, you want the appliances that you are setting into stone, literally, to be able to also last a lifetime. And having grilled on a Fire Magic for years before we expanded what our kitchen story was with them, it gave us so much confidence knowing that they were the perfect partner for a project like this.
And so in terms of your furnishings, we can see a little bit of your chairs and things like that. So what was sort of your vision for how you were going to furnish the space and have people be comfortable in it?
We love teak. We love natural materials, materials that we don't have to worry about, that can just wear that beautiful patina that you get with seasons so well. And we have little kids. We have a 6 and 7-year-old. So my attitude is the only thing precious in the house should be the kids.
Which makes a whole lot of sense. So, and then what are some of those little things? You mentioned the lighting, and I wanted to dig back into that a little bit about, because if you are using this space, year round, sometimes there are shorter days. How are you making this kind of more suitable for more of the year?
Yeah, well, we worked with Brian Scanlon of Scanlon Design for the kitchen layout. And our original kitchen was going to be much further away from the house. And in conversation with him, we realized, well, we'll get so much more use out of it in New England, especially keeping it close to the house. So this is an easy, like, snow shovel distance inside, as well as benefiting from like the extra storage and refrigeration of the indoor kitchen. It's just a flow where you're pulled out here, and the menu changes. Like, we may not be grilling hot dogs and hamburgers in November, December, and January, but we love doing our Thanksgiving turkey on the rotisserie. The rotisserie handles 75 pounds of whatever you could wish to put on there. And so that's become a tradition. You also have the side burner that is like the ultimate, if you want like the fried turkey, or we do Feast of the Seven Fishes at Christmas, so the clam bake goes on there. And then a new tradition that we have with our group of friends, thanks to this last year, has been like somewhat very competitive curling tournaments with whiskey and kielbasa that pair very well with the season. So I think it's just a lot of fun, like getting out of that mindset, I have to do like chicken drumsticks and hot dogs on the grill, and realizing if you love to cook and entertain, like having an appliance like this just lets you be outside and create whatever you want in the way that you want to do it.
I'm so excited because we get to see some of these pieces in action and see some of the things that you create. So we're going to be asking you to put on your chef hat and show us this special menu that you've created for us today. So I'm very excited about that.
Sure. Are you ready for a cocktail, Lisa?
I am. Well, yes, I am totally. I'm always ready for a cocktail. And the sneak peek I got of the menu, it sounds amazing.
Okay, well, let me take you over there.
So now we get to see Anna in action in her kitchen, making this amazing menu she has designed for us today. So first up is our signature cocktail, because what event wouldn't be complete without a signature cocktail?
Exactly. It makes even a Wednesday feel special, right? So this is a seasonal sangria. I love using the berries, the fruits that are ripe in the season. So I have some gorgeous peaches that I grilled on medium heat on direct flame to get these great grill marks. And it gives this like almost caramelized nuance to the stone fruit. They're so sweet. So you get this really beautiful char and almost like a candy-like crust on the outside. And then these have been stewing in a little Amaro, which has this great rhubarb bitterness to it and a little bit of peach schnapps. And then topped off with some bubbles is so delicious. And to pull in, what's ripe, where we're sitting right now in the season. And you can have a lot of variety in what you put in here. But the other thing I like are things that you can get 90% of the way finished and then top off when friends come. So being able to grill the peaches, have those chilling and stewing with the liquor, and then just add that little effervescence when your friends come, just has like a little bit of spirit and wow factor to it. So that's what we're sipping on today. And I love anything that can go into a pitcher. Putting those fruit notes and sweetness on the grill is really fun and unexpected. And it's just a fun way to multitask when you have things fired up. So with one of our favorite nights is also anything that's Mexican or Latin inspired. We love taco night. We also love to serve things board style, making things feel elevated, but also really approachable. So here I've grilled off some corn on the cob, and then I have some fun little fixings. I have a little fresh chimichurri and a fresh, like this really delicious aioli mixture for sort of like that smothered Mexican street corn style. But in prepping for friends, taking a little time to do a really nice rub on meat or marinade is a great way to give you that extra step. And then I've grilled it off, and then I'm keeping it warm here in the warming drawer along with dessert. So let me start with the flank steak. We have beautiful flank steak that I use coriander and cumin and cilantro and garlic. And I'm going to fan that out here on the board, mixed with the corn. And I like things that can be mixed and matched. This is great on salad. You could do this fajita style. And then just you add those little finishing touches when you're ready to serve. So I'm going to give a little slather of the aioli, and then the chimichurri.
And remind us what's in the chimichurri. It's
fresh parsley, cilantro, shallot, a little red wine vinegar, some garlic, and a little bit of olive oil with sea salt. And I just love picking the herbs, like having those fresh herbs and ingredients where you can like pull right from your cooking space is so much fun. And then pull them in also with the garnish. So you can see I've put it on top, but then I'm going to also add some big fresh cilantro sprigs here. And then I grilled off some lime too. It's just a fun thing when you have like that char mark that like completes the story here. So I have the lime that people can grab for that extra blitz of citrus, and some warm tortillas will go on the side, and edible flowers, because tis the season. We have to pull it all in right here. But the other thing, one of my favorite things also is, I've got super high heat where I seared off the steak, got some great char marks going on the corn. And then I'm left with this super hot oven. So I'll drop the heat down, and over indirect heat, pour some brownie batter into a cast iron skillet. This has a little bit of cinnamon and red chili pepper to give it sort of that Aztecan chocolate nuance, and bake it off just like you would in the oven. With the rounded hood on the Fire Magic, you get this beautiful airflow. It's like baking in a convection oven. And then we also decided to go for a magic view window so you can peer in. You don't have to open up the hood and lose that heat. So it's really fun. I keep this in the warming drawer, top it with vanilla ice cream, and people don't even know where it's come from. It's just like, you can bake brownies on the grill? Yeah, here, have some.
I would love some. So one thing about the citrus, and I think I want to talk about that, because I don't think people grill their fruit enough. And what you said about with the limes, that's great, because it also gives that a little bit of caramelizing sweetness that offsets the sourness. So it's super, super fun. and then the brownie in the oven is just how long does that usually take? Does it work just like you're baking a brownie in your normal oven, or do you have to be a little bit more careful just as the heat's dropping down to pay attention to what's going on with it?
Yeah, so Fire Magic has a beautiful temperature display, so I keep an eye on it. And I like to let it sit like an oven around 300 to 350. And then about halfway through, I'll give a rotation depending on where it's sitting with my burner units. But they also have heat zone separators. So you get a little bit of control so the flames aren't going to lick the side of your cast iron and scorch the side of it. But when you're working with a heavy metal like cast iron, you have really good heat distribution, and then you benefit from that extra little layer of texture you get on the outside. And I love the things that work best for me are the ones that play well and perform well in my kitchen indoors that I also can carry outdoors, and this is definitely one of them.
Oh, that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're cooking outside and the translation, because you don't want to necessarily get a whole new suite of cooking surfaces or cooking pans and pots and things like that. So and cast iron seems like it does the trick for pretty much anything, and is safe in a grill. So that's awesome. Well, Anna, this was fantastic. And I am going to have to get the recipes from you and make some this weekend for our friends. So many thanks to Anna Rossi for inviting us into her home, and to Fire Magic. And happy outdoor entertaining, everyone.
Thanks, Lisa. Cheers.
Hi, everyone. It's Lisa Bingham Dewart, and I am Luxe's Southern California, LA, and Pacific Northwest Homes Editor. Today, it is my great pleasure to welcome Dana Battista of Charlotte Barnes Interior Design out in Connecticut, who is here to talk about a wonderful project in Beverly Hills that we had the great pleasure of running in our January-February 2021 LA edition. So welcome, Dana. I'm so happy you're here. And I am so excited to talk about this house because there's so many, it's just one of those great houses with so much story and background and richness. And I think we could probably talk about it for several hours, but we're going to limit ourselves in the interests of everyone's time. But can you talk to me a bit about the clients and how you connected with them and what they wanted and what they were looking for in a house?
So I connected with the clients. I'm very close to the clients. It's my sister and brother-in-law. And they have a great history of togetherness, not togetherness. They had a bi-coastal life for a long time. And they were in London. It was the first time that they had lived together in London. And they thought that they were going to be there for about 5 years. And I initially went to London to help them sort of merge her sensibility and his sensibility. So it was good for both of them. And it turned out that the stint in London was short-lived. And so then they were finally going to move, be under one roof in Los Angeles. And so that's how it started. And that's how I know the clients. And from there, it was just, 2 years of fun and creative juices and ideas. And it was a great project to work on.
So they come to Los Angeles, and how did they find the house? Did they have some specific parameters? Did they have a house in mind? Did they have a neighborhood in mind? How were they? What was sort of their vision for the house?
So they definitely had a neighborhood in mind. They almost didn't go for this house because it doesn't have a real great driveway. So it's a corner lot, and it's a small house, which is the beauty of it. It's just the two of them. So they looked at a lot of houses, and everything that they saw, a lot of houses had been redone. And so it just, it wasn't their sensibility. So they really found this, diamond in the rough kind of house to make it whatever they wanted it to be, to create, this gem that it is.
Now, remind me, it's a house from the 20s or the 30s? Was it?
The 30s.
Okay, 30s.
30s Mediterranean.
Right. So kind of one of those classic, almost old Hollywood kind of feeling houses. And you mentioned it was a diamond in the rough. So what was kind of the state that you found it in? Was it fairly well preserved, or?
Well, I think it was definitely cared for. So it wasn't dilapidated, or, it was nice. But the first goal was to really bring it to life. And that first step was changing out the wood French doors and window frames to the steel powder coated windows and doors, which is a game changer. So that was the best part of it. There were certain, it didn't require a lot of construction, but it was just sort of like rethinking how to use the space inside. And one of the things, if you look at the pictures of the living room, and there is a, wide open archway in the living room that goes to the back, to the hall, to the master bedroom, that was a teeny tiny door. And so this wonderful living room just like funneled back to the back of the house. And so we just really opened it up, which was fun to do.
So one of the things that you had mentioned in your interview for the feature was that you described the house as a Fabergé egg. And I think it's a really perfect description of it, because I think one of the great things about this house is it seems like almost every single piece in the house tells some sort of story or has some sort of resonance. I mean, everything there, just even, the existing pieces, the new pieces, there's such a richness and a depth to every decision you made. So I wanted to jump back to something that you had said at the beginning, which was that you were helping kind of merge their styles. So what were their sort of disparate styles that they were operating with?
Well, my brother-in-law is very sleek. So he likes a lot of Art Deco pieces and things that are probably more masculine. And my sister, I wouldn't say shabby chic, but she appreciates, old-fashioned things and things that are a little more natural. So it was kind of combining those sensibilities where you have something that's really super stylish, but it's not something that, you can stamp a date on it and say, oh, that was the look of 2017 or whatever it was. So it is combining both of their sensibilities where they're both happy.
So we talked a little bit about how you had done some updating on the house, and I know that you updated kind of all the sort of behind the scenes systems and things. But you also did some, and you mentioned you did the work on the door in the living room, but you also updated that foyer area as well, correct? When you first enter the house, what was sort of the goal right there?
So what I will say about the house, and I sort of wish that some of the bathrooms got in. What is so fabulous about the house is the tile and the marble that we chose. And the floor tile in the entry is this iridescent, like it looks a little purple, it looks a little blue, it looks a little green. So it's an iridescent tile and it's just magnificent. So the previous entry just had a solid wood door, and it was, I think it was like painted black octagon terracotta tiles. So it was really, really flat, kind of dense, and with the, all glass, the paned front door, and then the luster of the tile, it just like twinkles. It just sort of like, is alive. And also in the front entrance are, there's a door to a powder room, and there's the door to the closet. And then we used a fine paints of Europe Holland lac for those doors. So the whole entry is just this sort of glowing, beautiful entry.
It really is. And then I think another spot that I feel like has that sort of glow to it is the library, which has a lot of, I feel like it's one of those spaces that almost encapsulates a lot of what you were doing in the house. So, one of the most notable things I think is that eggplant color on the cabinet. So can you talk a little bit about how you came to decide on the eggplant hue and what that meant for that room?
So in that room, there are a lot of George Smith pieces that were from the London house. And so, of course, we're not going to reupholster or throw away George Smith furniture. So we were able to fit it into the room beautifully along with the carpet. And the sofa is a beautiful gray mohair, and the club chairs are this fabulous Paul Smith stripe. Now, my immediate thought was that it would be beautiful in that eggplant color, and it is almost a neutral, actually. And it's sort of, if we had gone with my brother-in-law was like, nah, I don't know. And I'm like, trust me, it's beautiful. And, it's, you're not going to see it coming and going everywhere. And if we had done like a gray lacquer or something like that, it would have been sort of that feeling that is stamped, 2017 or 20, whatever. So I think all of the color is very harmonious with each other. And again, it just glows. And the sunset in that room is magnificent. The views from the house are great. So it just, everything just sort of like twinkles and glows, but it's a great color.
And you had mentioned that you had reused the George Smith pieces. Had those been pieces that then you'd help them find when they were living in London previously?
They had already purchased those.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about my sister and brother-in-law is that they enjoy collecting. They're both they both have a very good eye. And so that's fun too, that they're invested as well. So it's not just a house full of objects for no purpose.
Right. And then there's some antique, the piano in the living room, that's a family antique, isn't it?
Yes. So we grew up in Connecticut, and that piano was in our house growing up my entire life. So when my parents sold the house, I guess it was like going on 20 years ago, my sister had the piano and she just sort of traveled around with it.
It's not one of the more portable items.
Oh, right, exactly. It's not like, oh, these are my favorite plates, it's like committed to a piano.
Right. You have to, that's some like pre-planning that has to go into schlepping that thing everywhere.
Yeah.
So getting back to the living room, you had mentioned the sort of combination of their aesthetics with the sleeker and the more kind of, I don't know, bohemian or shabby chic. And I feel like the living room is actually a spot where that sort of tension and duality kind of plays out, but in just this really fun and harmonious way. You're not like, what? Obviously two people with two very different aesthetics live here. So I'm just curious in terms of how you sort of put those pieces together in that space, for example, to sort of satisfy both those sort of divergent ideas.
Well, it was, I think what came first was, believe it or not, the chandelier, which I found on First Dibs. And it's massive and it's perfect for the house. So, that was the first thing. And we sort of went from there. They had chairs that were from London that eventually found spots elsewhere in the house. They had a coffee table that was okay. And then the sofa. The sofa I also found on First Dibs, which is very, very stylish, very, very chic. And then the little chairs in the pink velvet, I was at the Rose Bowl with my younger sister, and I was like, oh my God. And they were covered in muslin. I'm like, oh my God, those chairs are beautiful. And I think they were $300 a pair. And then we had them recovered in this like yummy Claremont cotton velvet. And, you would never know. So that's the combination. It's like your very high-end, stylish sofa, and then the chairs from the Rose Bowl, and the little telephone table that, again, my sister had. And if you saw it before, you'd be like, that should be on the corner for, pickup. But it's done in a fabulous Dadar fabric, and it's great. It's great.
Well, I mean, it's testament to what a little thought and some good fabric will do to kind of transform pretty much anything into something that's really worth keeping around. So there are in the house, there are so many wonderful details. Just like it's eye candy. It's there's just something that will catch your eye and be exciting. I love the kitchen. I think the kitchen is so fun. There's a lot of stories in there. As I understand it, they're big cooks, correct? And
my sister is like, she just sent a picture the other day of, her focaccia that she made. So every night she's cooking something, and she's a fabulous cook.
So in the kitchen, there's some fun details. The tiles, I believe, were something that you guys spent a lot of time kind of workshopping and thinking about. So can you talk to us a little bit about those pieces? Yes.
So for the floor tile, there's a lot of green in the house, not green like the color green, not renewable green.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of green in the house because my sister loves the color green. So I went to Solar Antique Tiles, and I saw this unbelievable, it was, I think, 18th century Italian tile. And I just knew I knew that was the floor 100%. And it was really expensive, really expensive. So we tried to go a less expensive route. And we did a bunch of different trials. And then Pedro at Solar Antiques came up with an unbelievable idea, which was to take old tiles and glazed them new. So it wasn't the original glazed tile, which I guess what made it so expensive, but we had like the body of old tiles. So they're perfectly imperfect waves and everything, and glazed them new. And part of it is the size, because I can't remember the size of the square, but everything that we looked at that was new was either much larger or much smaller. And there's something about that size which feels very old and, you know, European, and so it worked out great. And then as we were, you know, so the jewel of the crown is the O'Keefe and Merritt stove.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, what's the wall tiles? Again, we didn't want a white kitchen. And then we saw, you know, we were looking, and solar antique tiles came through again for us. So that's the kitchen.
And I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about that O'Keefe and Merritt range, because that is really something. Was that had they wanted a vintage stove like that, or was that?
Absolutely. And that's the part of my sister's sensibility, you know, like that old California, sort of like Chateau Marmont, you know, it's just like old California. And I think that that's what the biggest, you know, draw was for her. And in fact, my mom has, I don't think it's O'Keefe and Merritt, but also has her stove like that in San Diego. So we're big fans. You know, it's like, Wolf, no, you know, anyway, it was that.
And did you have to do a lot of, were you able to just find one that had been completely restored, or did you have to find one and then restore it yourself?
It had to be restored. There's a great place in Burbank who does like, they know everything, like what are the good years, what are the bad years for those type of stoves and ovens, and so they had it fully restored.
Awesome. That's so cool. And then so one of the other things that I love is some of the other things that you've incorporated into the house were things that they really loved. For example, they really have a passion for fornacetti. So can you talk a little bit about how you were able to weave some of that into the house?
Well, I will say that they both love Italy. So there's, you know, on all their trips, they collect a little fornacetti here and there. And my sisters loved it forever. And I think it was, God, 20 something years ago, I used to be in the fashion industry, and I would go to Italy for work, and I brought my sister back a couple things, you know, a couple fornacetti things. So she's been collecting it for a lot of years. And one of the things that is absolutely incredible, and I give great credit to the people who did the mosaic, is the kitchen barbecue is based on the fornacetti wallpaper. So, you know, I think it's, I can't speak Italian, but it's Opicelli, I think it is, but the birds. So the fornacetti throughout the house, the lamps, the bottom of the pool, the barbecue outside the kitchen, it's all sort of like touched and incorporated throughout the house.
It's, yeah, that some of the mosaic work is just such a moment there. And did you do, as I recall, there was a lot of stone shopping to get those birds just right. Is that
Yes.
correct?
So we worked with two great resources. One is Mission Tile West in Pasadena, shout out to Tisa. And then the other is, I think it's American Marble and Onyx. And so it was a lot of looking at slabs and looking at stones. So it was, Jason really did most of the work on the mosaics, but the other stone surfaces in the house, you know, for the vanities and all of that, I was able to source for them, and the bathrooms as well.
That's awesome. And just out of curiosity, were you shopping with them much, your sister and brother-in-law, or did they kind of turn you loose?
They turned me loose. They turned me loose. And that's what was really fun. Actually, I don't think there's a picture of it in the library. There is in the bookshelves, there's a recessed part where there's marble on the bottom of the shelf. And it's this like very like full of color movement breccia. And I showed it to my brother-in-law. He's like, I don't know, that's really wild. You know, that's like a little wild. That's a little, but it's beautiful. And it feels very, again, sort of European, which is really nice. And it just is colorful. It's not sterile. It's who they are. And, you know, I know them both well enough that, you know, nothing's going to veer too much to him and nothing's going to veer too much to her, but it just came together beautifully.
Is it different designing for family versus designing for a client? Did you feel like you had more leeway, less leeway? What was sort of your
I think that I had, you know, with a client that I don't know very well, you learn their sensibility and you work toward that. And some people aren't willing to take a lot of risk. And I think that my sister and brother-in-law were definitely willing to take risk. And they were like, yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, you know, there were very few like, no way. So it like we sort of all jumped in together. And like towards the end of the project, it was like, okay, things that were sort of lagging, it's like, okay, if 2 out of the 3 say yes, then it's a go. So, but even that, there were, it didn't feel like, oh, we compromised. So it was, I had full leeway. And sometimes, you know, with clients that I don't know well, because I work with Charlotte Barnes, you know, we can throw things out there, and if they're willing to take the risk, then it's, you know, it's a good, you know, it's successful. So it makes everybody happy.
Yeah, that's good. And so last question, sort of jumping on the train of travel, was some of the architectural detailing that you did. And for example, that ceiling and the primary bedroom, I think is a really great example of just elevating spaces and taking their interests. And so can you talk a little bit about that ceiling?
So that ceiling, my sister had an inspiration picture from a hotel in Italy, which had like a beautiful coved ceiling. And of course we couldn't achieve that in this house. And so I went to JP Weaver, which is in Glendale, and they have beautiful decorative moldings. And so we did that treatment in the hallway, the bedroom ceiling, in the bathroom. And it just, again, gives it it gives it a lot of detail that you pay attention to. And it's elegant and it's, you know, it's special. It's really, and so that, you know, is part of the Fabergé egg. It's the detail. And I have to tell you, Lisa, that every time I go back to the house, which I do, I'm there every couple of months. When I walk in, it's like all new. It's like, oh, I love that. And oh, it just feels so good. And it is a house that they entertain in, that they love and live in. So that's also what makes it very special.
Right. That it's not for show. It's actually for living your life and existing and making memories and
Right.
and all of that.
Absolutely.
Well, Dana, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It was so good to chat with you in sort of real life.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate it so very much. And thank you so much for taking us through this really, really special project.
Thank you for having me.